Good morning, or now it's afternoon, podcaster community. This is Podcast Pete, and we have a new podcast that's launching today. Now it's the Grandparents Matter podcast. Yes, this one I will host it. We have 24 other different podcasts that are launching in the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to be Podcast Pete, moving over to Grandparents Matter. This one's near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to bring you the leading experts on this subject. So just before we begin, I want to let people know, if you're a therapist, you're a person, an expert in this area, get a hold of me. We'll put you on our show right here, podcasterpetecane.com, or you can call me direct at 404-428-3006. Oops, looks like I got a call, but we're not going to stop. We'll keep on going. Now, why is this important? I just had a guest, Nicole, was with 101 Mobility. Now, Nicole, that thing's ringing in my ear. Nicole is from the Philippines, and Nicole was a wonderful guest. I've never had a guest on for 1 hour. We talked about so many different subjects. And since I have a team in the Philippines, I was very curious about what's important in the Philippines. And you know the number one thing she said? The respect for elders. What does that mean? Her parents had to take care of her parents when they got cancer. Over there, it's not a system where government steps in or insurance steps in. You have to pay for it. So there's a lot of sacrifices that went in to care for her parents. And she saw this, and that's just part of their culture. Over here, I wouldn't say that's the same case. We have an epidemic of young adults thinking they can do it themselves, and they could hold our kids, grandkids hostage, as I call in the pawns in a big game. They think the big game of life. This is life. This is a real thing. This isn't a game. Grandparents have an incredible amount of love to pour in to the grandkids. They've got lessons from life that the parents don't necessarily have because they haven't lived life. But here's the stat that I want you to write down. 8% of America is hardcore narcissists. What does that mean? They only think of themselves. Their behavior is so warped that it's out of control. You probably know somebody. Well, the only way to really combat that is to expose it and take the control away from the narcissist. So that's number one. Number two is you have to have therapy. These people grow up in an environment that forms neurological patterns in their brain. And in a lot of cases, but not all, they don't even know what they're doing. But in some cases, they do. They just want control, and they want to do whatever they can. I'm going to give you an example. This is for my golfer friends. I don't know how many golfers realize, Patrick Reed, you and your wife need to be in therapy, because anybody that would grow up and not let their parents see their kids needs a therapist. Their parents changed their diapers, wiped their ass, did everything for them. And in return, what do they get? Can't see my kids, because somebody in that family has messed up thinking. So you need therapy, Patrick Reed. You're the leader of that family. You're the person that would know better. Regardless of who's telling you what to do, you lead the family, put your pants on, and do the right thing. Take care of your parents. They raised you. They put you in golf school. They probably carted you around the whole Southeast, putting you in the best possible thing, and this is the way you return the favor. Well, it wouldn't work in the Philippines because they respect their elders. They have a respect that you don't do those things just because you think you've got a better plan for your kids and you want to do something to control that. So that's my golf example. Let me get back to the Grandparents Matter podcast. So I want you to reach out to people you know. Invite them to be guests on the podcast. We want to give our grandparents a platform to be able to share ways that they pour in to their kids. How do they show the love towards their grandkids? Because look into the scripture. If you have well-adjusted kids that are the recipient of love, you have strong, confident adults. When you don't, well, you don't get those kind of kids. So it's so important for our grandparents to pour in the love and lessons, L&L, love and lessons of life into those little ones. They're so much like sponges. They're learning so much. They haven't gotten to the age where they have all kinds of thoughts about whatever it was. They need love. Love, love. They don't need isolation. They need their grandparents there. They need their grandparents being with them, taking them on experiences, helping them navigate through life. Because it's hard raising kids. Anybody that's raised kids says it's easy. Yeah, they're probably rewarding, but not easy. They're probably not being truthful because it's tough, really tough. And it's probably tougher today than it was 50 years ago because we've gotten so busy with phones and running around. We don't put the quality time in. Go to a restaurant, look around. See how many people are on an iPhone or a phone. And they're not talking. They're not having conversation because they're busy being busy on a phone. Read the book right behind me. I think I can see it back there. I want to say Thankless. No, not Thankless. Think Jim Quick. It's Jim. I get those words mixed up. Limitless. That's it. Limitless. Jim Quick survived a brain injury to retrain his brain, form new paths, new behaviors. The brain is an incredible muscle. But if you don't use that muscle and you're always on your phone, not thinking, then that brain's not going to be used like it used to. I don't know if it's true, but I heard 4 hours of TV a day, average American. 4 hours. Entertainment's great, but 4 hours, a little excessive. I think it's a couple hours on social media, just scrolling. Judgment. Scroll. Your brain is having to make a decision on every scroll. Is that a good one, bad one, good one, bad one, good one? It's always, and so that keeps your brain in the wrong stuff. You got to think time, spend time journaling, thinking. Now I'm getting a little off course, so I'll jump back onto the Grandparents Matters podcast. So today we have an epidemic of kids that think they know everything. And the bottom line is they don't. You don't know everything in your mid-30s like some people do, think they do. So I'm going to encourage you to talk to people, share this podcast with your community. Let your community know. We're going to feature every week a new guest that can shed some light on this horrible epidemic. And it's one that not many people know. But if you're affected by it, you know it. It's the ugliest thing you could possibly have is being isolated from your grandkids. So I want you to get out there, share this episode with as many people as you can to stop it. Allow grandparents to pour their love into their grandkids and be able to give those grandkids the life skills that'll make them confident, strong adults. So this is 10 minutes, but we'll go on for a few more minutes because I want people, as soon as I see the numbers go up of listeners, then I'll wind it down. But I want people to realize the pain of grandparents that are isolated from their grandkids. You can only be a grandparent and experience that. Nobody can tell you about it. Nobody can have you understand it until you go through it. And then when you go through it, boy, do you know it. Because raising kids is hard. I think it's God's gift and blessing to give parents a reward. And that is grandkids. And that reward is absolutely nothing on this earth replaces it. All the achievement in your career doesn't do 1% of what the joy it is to love on your grandkids. So I'm going to give you a number right here. podcastpetecane.com. Go on there. If you know you want to be a guest on the show, look at the top of the tree. It's a link tree. And become a guest or call me direct. Call me direct. If you're a therapist out there and you have something you would like to share that relates to grandparents and love of grandkids, we want you on the show. You make a wonderful guest. So please be on the show. You'll see this every single week. I don't know if the time on Thursday at 12 o'clock is the best time, but we'll pick a time and it'll be consistent every single week. So again, share this with people you know that can hear this message and be able to help people that are not seeing their grandparents. Bridge that love to grandkids through communication, through helping people understand that the only people, well, not only people, you hurt everybody. You hurt the kids, the grandkids, and the parents. All three. Lose, lose, lose. Big lose for all three. And it can be avoided. Usually just takes one person. Well, maybe two. But it can be avoided. So I want to encourage you. Share this episode. Call me if you want to be a guest on the show. Love to feature you. Even grandparents out there. I know a lot of them. You want to be a guest on the podcast? Grandparents Matter. Share your best grandkid story, your best experience, where you went with your grandkids. Give our viewers an idea of cool experiences. Let's have you on the show. So thank you so much. This is just shy of 15 minutes, so I want to give you, again, there it is. Go to podcasterpetecane.com or call me direct, 404-428-3006. Thank you so much for making a difference out there. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate if you would share this to people you know and care about. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.